I think they were trying to see if we had a reaction to it. And I mean, because there was an awkward moment of silence, like I said, and then they started talking about it, and maybe they were discussing it to get further reaction out of us, but they started talking about that it was recovered from a craft that had crashed.
They said that?
They did say that.
Wow. So you're doing like kind of combat training stuff at Crane.
Yeah, weapons training.
Training. Then what happens?
A couple days into the training, we were doing really well. Me and this guy were doing very well. And we got pulled to the side at the end of the day on a regular training day. And we stayed after and we're talking with the cadre instructors. And somebody else had come into the room, and we thought we maybe were just getting some extra stuff because we were doing well. And they ended up telling us we're going to go check out some foreign weapons. We went to another part of the facility, went to another building. In that building, we went into an elevator. We took an elevator down, which that was the first odd thing, is that it felt like we went down significantly further than like you would think you would. I mean, it was just awkward. It just stood out.
You went way underground.
I don't know if it was way, but it was further down than like a few floors, so I don't know how far. I don't know how fast the elevator was going. I didn't know I needed to pay attention to it at the time. It's just something that stood out to me, that we were going underground. Yeah.
And these are pretty well documented now across America, underground military facilities. And so, okay, so you're going underground. Did you know that there was an underground complex at Crane before this? Okay.
Absolutely not. Nope, wasn't briefed on it, didn't know about it, didn't have
So what's going through your mind at this point? You're going down underground in an elevator with these random instructors.
Well, at the end of the day, man, I'm a soldier and I do what I'm told, so I'm just following orders and just going and, okay, we're going to go here, go stand there, do this. But I'm observing, I'm kind of, it's starting to feel different, The mood has definitely become more serious. The people we were with seemed serious, and me and the other guy were just being quiet and not showing any emotion, as we're trained to do. So we get under there, door opens, we go through a security type checkpoint. I remember the first thing that stood out to me was that it was significantly more modern than everything up top. Yep. And that was odd. The lighting and everything seemed more modern, just seemed more upkept. Yeah,
kind of state of the art.
Mm-hmm. It was very streamlined how things operated down there, so you could tell it was like very regimented. Just like you walk on this, everybody walked on the right side to go down the hall. Like people coming this way walked on their right. Mm-hmm. It's just, and there was like a line on the wall that you followed to different areas. You know how like the hospitals sometimes have like a line to follow to the emergency room? It was kind of that seemed like it was that. I mean, I wasn't 100% paying attention to that. I was just had observed it upon getting under there or getting down there. We moved through a security checkpoint, and then we started looking at some foreign weapons stuff, and they were telling us about some Russian and Chinese weapon systems that were captured. And I don't want to go too into the details on this stuff. It's still within too kind of close proximity to that.
Sure.
That I don't want to go too far. But basically, it was pretty advanced stuff that they had been using that was captured, probably, I would assume, by agency types that were operating in the area and had come across stuff that it seemed exotic. It wasn't anything that would strike me as beyond what I'd expect us to find or people to have the capability of making, but it was interesting for sure. Just the type of ammunition and the way the weapon systems operated. There was
so kind of exotic, unconventional.
Yeah, unconventional. Yeah, I would say not so much exotic, but unconventional for sure.
Okay.
And so we talked about that for a little bit, and they kind of I felt like it was sort of evaluating our thoughts on it, maybe seeing. We are weapons experts, and so maybe they just wanted another set of eyes on it, and maybe just evaluating to see what we came up with. Maybe they were evaluating us for see what we could find out about. I don't know.
Right.
It's, like I said, I've thought about this a lot. And
maybe they knew and they were testing you.
Exactly.
Maybe they didn't know and they genuinely wanted your help.
Sure.
There's a whole host of possibilities.
Absolutely. And I don't want to say it was one of the, I don't know.
Sure.
But again, we did that for a bit. And then
At any point, did you say, "Hey, why are we down here?"
hell
You're just
no.
kind of, yeah.
And you wouldn't. You
Yeah,
know, you wouldn't. It's not the way things are done. So
Yeah.
you just do. You know,
Totally.
You just do the thing.
And if you're ever like going to be denied access to the most interesting stuff, it's by asking questions like that, probably.
Yeah,
So
I'd bet.
you probably just want to kind of go with it at that point. Okay, so you're looking at this exotic, or not exotic, but unconventional adversary technology.
Yes. And again, it was really interesting, and I think we came up with a couple ideas of what we thought about it, and purpose and functionality, and then they kind of, the two guys we were with spoke for a little bit, and then and again, I'm a lot of this is me trying to remember, and so I don't know if I'm getting everything perfect, but in hindsight, looking back, I would assume maybe they were deciding if we were going to go further.
Yeah.
And they ultimately decided we would, I guess, because we went down and we ended up going through another security checkpoint, which that was odd because we'd already gone through a significant level of security. And so I thought that was odd. This was more like going into a skiff.
Okay.
What I would compare it to. And when you do that, everything you take your watch off. Anything electronics gone.
Yep. So for the audience, SCIF is Secret Compartmentalized Information Facility.
Correct, yeah.
And it's like a Faraday cage on steroids, so that any comms
good
that
analogy.
take place within the SCIF are completely offline.
Anything that goes into the skiff
Can't come out.
and so it's just a very protected facility for good reason. And so it was that level of security, which is the highest level of security I've seen or dealt with. And so that was strange too, because we'd already gone through a pretty robust security checkpoint to get under there.
And are they checking your clearance at each point, or
No, I mean, that's already done when we got to the training. So they know who we are, and it was more just like, do you have anything right now on you? Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Like a TSA on steroids sort of situation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then you go through that, you put your stuff in a box, it gets locked into a box, and then you go through another checkpoint area, a scan, and whatever else, right? Not uncommon, but seemed highly unusual for this. After that, we moved on down another hallway and got into an area that had a marking on the wall and said off-world technology.
It said off-world technology.
That's
insane.
So immediately my bells go off.
Was it engraved? Or was it?
No, it was.
Did it look like it was written in marker or something?
No,
or
it was. But it wasn't like it was like permanent. It was like somebody like stuck a placard in, kind of.
Okay.
So I don't know. It could have been a setup. It could have been something just thrown together.
Sure.
But it could have been something that's just how they had.
But it said off-world technology.
Yeah, that obviously immediately started to feel what the fuck is going on, right? So me and the guy are looking at each other. The other guy that's there, he's another Green Beret. We're like, what the fuck? Kind of giving each other that look. And that was where the weird shit started. We go into the room, and the one room, these significantly higher level of technology, like the lighting even looked, everything was just, it was more, it was just a different vibe, man. I don't know how else to describe it. Like I said, the lighting was different. The walls had like maybe, I would assume, some type of Faraday material. Like everything was just a higher level of detail. The first object was a metallic basketball-sized sphere, and it was above a podium, and looked like it was just levitating above the podium.
Levitating above the podium. Mm-hmm. So there was space between the sphere and the podium itself.
Correct. And I remember at one point, like, trying to angle myself, like, what? How is that?
Do you think it could have been some sort of magnetic levitation? Okay.
Maybe, yeah.
But it's just levitating there.
It was just levitating.
Did it look like a prosaic, like this wood table where if you were to, touch it, it would act like a normal object? Did it look holographic? What did it look like?
That's a good question. What stood out to me was the way the metal looked. It looked unnatural. And I talked with Gerb about this, and he kind of dug in on this. I'm like, dude, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is it didn't look natural. It didn't look like anything I could compare it to.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So look, it almost looked like Off-World.
It fit the bill.
Yeah.
And then also there was and this could have been anxiety or anything else, but the energy in the room, man, was just different.
What was the feeling you got looking at this thing?
Just an unease, uneasy, uncomfortable, ominous. That's the best way I can describe it.
Did it feel powerful or conscious, or did it feel like this inanimate object? Or
it didn't feel inanimate. It didn't feel conscious. It just felt like this was significant. And it could have been the way that they brought us in. It could have been all the buildup. It could have been that.
Do you have any extra context at this point? Did the instructors at any point, are they in the room with you, by the way?
They are acting like this is a normal Tuesday. And that's what fucked me up even more. Like that was oddly very strange, man. Like this, I hadn't been exposed to anything like this before that or since. So,
and they didn't say, hey, so what you're about to experience is kind of trippy. They just took you into this room.
They just, and maybe that was part of the point. It could have absolutely just been something that triggered on a evaluation for me and this guy. And they brought us out there to see if we'd react to the technology. That could have been a part of it.
Do you ask them at any point?
Well, so after a moment, have a moment to like kind of drink that in, and then they were talking about, and they were kind of talking to us and each other. It felt just weird, man. Almost like they were purposely making it awkward.
Yeah,
I would say, but maybe it's just because I was in a weird situation.
Do you know anything about these instructors as far as like, do they have physics background or military background?
Most of them have military background. A lot of them come out of the same type of special operations that we were in, at least some of them. But they are civilian contracted companies that are working for, for Crane.
Gerb has come up with some really interesting research around how this is possibly SAIC and how they've done some contracting work with Crane in the past. And SAIC is pretty deep in consciousness research. In fact, they were the CIA has a psychic spy program. This is fully, by the way, declassified and known and on record. Psychic spy program, it ran from 1972 to 1995. Probably some version of it is still going on today. I have trouble believing that, they actually sunsetted it fully. And
why wouldn't they? It was successful.
And you have, people like Joseph McMoneagle, who's remote viewer #1, who won the Legion of Merit for over 200 instances in which he added to military intelligence. In fact, you have a quote from Jimmy Carter, who's president from 76 to 80, saying, the craziest thing that I've ever experienced in my presidency was a remote viewer. Her name, I believe, was Rosemary Smith. Yeah. Basically, there was this Tu-22 spy plane, Russian spy plane, that had downed, it had gone down in Africa. All of Africa is the target. And this woman draws a 3 square mile radius in Zaire where they find the plane. And he freaks out, and there's an audio of him saying this. And so for anybody out there, you should look into this. This is a real program. SAIC in Palo Alto was running a lot of the operations later for Stargate and the psychic spy program. So they're extremely interested in this. And our friend UAPGerb has dug up a lot of research around SAIC's work with Crane. And there are other instances, by the way, of tests going on with people and their psionic connection. And there's a guy named Chris Bledsoe you're probably familiar with.
Yes.
North Carolina.
Yes.
A guy named
Crazy story.
Yeah. And a guy named Tim Taylor is a NASA mission controller. We were talking about him last night. Shows up in Bledsoe's life. Yep. Shows him a piece of space material. And somehow Bledsoe knows that it's like not from here.
Yeah.
And then and there's this interesting kind of reaction. And then Tim Taylor says, "Why you?" or something. Like he knows that at that point Bledsoe does actually have this genuine psychic ability or something.
Well, dude, that's funny that you bring that up, because I 100% when I saw that sphere could say that I would, if I had no other context, even though I had the off-world technologies label, if I had none of that, I would have been like, that's not from here.
Right. More context or corroboration that maybe your story isn't happening in a vacuum. There's a story of Uri Geller where, again, say what you will about the guy. I think there might have been some snake oil in some of the stuff that he was doing, but he was brought over by a guy named Andrei Puharich, who was part of consciousness research going on in the US, but also was doing weird MK Ultra stuff as well. Right. He brings over Uri Geller. Uri Geller has a crazy story with Werner von Braun, who's the father of the German and American space programs, ran our Saturn program that took us to the moon, where von Braun shows him, a piece of space material in a safe. And Uri Geller is able to deduce that this is not from here or whatever. And so this seems to be kind of this recurring trope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I definitely felt that when I saw the object. I did not say that. And I think they were trying to see if we had a reaction to it. And I mean, because there was an awkward moment of silence, like I said, and then they started talking about it, and maybe they were discussing it to get further reaction out of us, but they started talking about that it was recovered from a craft that had crashed.
They said that.
They did say that.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So they said this orb was actually recovered from a craft, but it itself was not the craft.
Correct.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So what do we think? I mean, did you extrapolate anything from that as far as what role the orb played in the craft's overall working?
So I want to be careful how what I say I remember and don't remember, because this was a while ago, but I want to say I remember them talking about it being a control mechanism for the craft, some type of control mechanism for the craft. And I don't remember if they had said that to each other or to us. Like I said, there was kind of a two-way conversation happening. They were talking a little bit back and forth to each other, and then giving us bits of information also. So I don't remember exactly how that came out, but I do remember them saying that it was potentially part of a control mechanism and that it interacted with consciousness. I wanted to ask a question. I didn't, but I'm like, how would they know that?
Right.